everybody. Welcome to another Wednesday Night Live. Thank you for joining. I want to talk about the Epstein Files being released and my concern, I guess, over the timing. So I'll get into that in a bit. Also, the state legislatures are all starting to get together now, folks. So it is time, okay? It is COS season. It is season of convention of states. This is what those of us who follow, who the grassroots, for those of us who've been carrying this torch for so long now, some longer than others, this is what we've been waiting for, right? And this is what we wait for every year. And last year, we had so many on the cusp that didn't quite go over the edge, whereas the year before, we entered 4 right away, bang, bang, bang. And we're at 19 now, and we're looking to get that number into the mid-20s this year. And there are there is quite a bit of optimism coming into this year, and I'm going to get into that as well. But getting into Jeffrey Epstein, I want to hear comments about, what you guys think about the Epstein timing of this, if you're even suspicious of it, or if it even, came to mind to you, or if you're just so excited to see it, so that you could put some of these people on blast. The suspicions right now, at least where the left media is going, is they're starting to soften the blow. Like, you're going to see Clinton on that list. Like, we haven't seen the list yet, but they're coming out and saying, pretty much telling you, BBC, ABC, all of them coming out, here's what to expect, right? And of course, they're starting to diffuse it before it even comes out. But, my concern is what everyone else's concern is, right? I want to know who this VIP list is, and I don't really care about, who hobnobbed with him at a party. I want to know who was on the jet that went to that island. That's what I really want to know, right? Because now the mudslinging is going to begin as everybody jumps into defense mode, and it's going to be anybody who ever took a photo or saw him, or I want to see the people on the manifest, not just on his planes manifest, to that disgusting island that they were going to, and has been described by so many women who have been abused, in this ring, right? And that's what I really want to see. And I get, my concern about the timing of it all is that somehow they're going to try and flip this around and be like, Donald Trump was on the island and blah, 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 which they've never been able to even sneeze at proof at. They had like a photo of him at a billionaires party that was filled with billionaires where a photo was taken. But now the Photoshop stuff's coming out. I'm seeing all kinds of Photoshop stuff coming out. It's like not even good Photoshop stuff. So it's not even like deep state stuff. It's like cheaply done, it's like if I were to go start Photoshopping things, like easy to detect. But like, it concerns me, right? Because in my head, what I'm really waiting for this year, right, and I can get into this a little bit too, is I think most of you share my opinion that, like, we're kind of waiting for something to happen and not something good, right? We're kind of waiting for, I'm not running out there saying this, there's going to be a power outage, there's going to be another virus, I don't know what the hell's going to happen. I just know that right now, every single attempt that they've made to try and remove Trump from candidacy, because forget this not letting him run in the primaries, that's all going to get shut down in one fell swoop. It's so unconstitutional. It's ridiculous. They're preventing him from running based on something he's never even been charged with. So I don't see insurrection, no matter, and that goes for everybody in January 6th too. Nobody, not one human being was charged with insurrection. Like, knowing the difference between a narrative and reality is important, right? So they failed with that, and they're continuing to fail with that, and they're going to continue to fail with that. So knowing that that's going to be an epic fail, another one, what do they have left in, and Tucker had made the case that, the only thing left, they gotta shoot him, or they gotta kill him, right, is what he's saying. And everybody called Tucker crazy, and I think a lot of us realize it's not as crazy as it might sound. I am curious, so leave in the comments where you're watching from, because I'm not even sure if all channels are getting this broadcast right now, because I had a hiccup, if you hadn't noticed. As a matter of fact, let me check that just for my own sake, to see if the streams are going through. And it looks like Rumble's got me on there. Facebook's got me on there. Even YouTube, which, folks, if you're watching on YouTube, let me just say before I even get into any conversation, subscribe to the Rumble channel, follow me on Twitter or X, one or the other, because and everyone come follow me on X. I really want to get the following going there. I respect everything that's gone on with Facebook. With the, I got 18,000 on Facebook, but I really want to start moving over to X. I really am getting tired of just having to worry, and I don't worry anymore, and that's the thing, right? I don't worry, so then I get knocked off. So on YouTube, if you've been following on YouTube, I'm just saying check me out on Rumble, or I stream the same exact stream to Twitch, or not, but don't forget Twitch, Twitter, right? So I'm doing the same stream all over, but I want to make sure, because if I get thrown off, I never know when it's coming with YouTube. I got the 8th time, in almost 3 years now, or 2.5 years, the 8th time I was thrown off of YouTube for having that conversation 2 weeks ago, which I redid last week. And I don't know when they're going to cut me off, but when they do, it's going to be like 3 months before I get on there again, because I'm going to be living with 2 strikes on me, which means anything they want to pick out, they can just take my entire channel down, and I have no intention of giving in that way. So definitely have a backup is my best advice, and I would like that backup to be X or Twitter, right? Rumble as well, excellent source. I always notice that I get as many or more viewers on Rumble. I've got right now, perfect example. Right now, I've got 16. How you doing, Mern? I see you out there. True Flag Action. How you doing, sir? Yeah, sorry about that initial stream. It was pretty, something went wrong there. I had to reboot real quick. I figured I'd do it before the ticker was done than after. But right now I'm looking at Rumble. There's 19 people watching on Rumble. I got 675 followers on Rumble. Okay. Now Facebook, I have 18,000, right? Over 18,000. And on Facebook, I don't even know right now how many are watching. I'm trying to get some sort of idea here. Facebook, I'm not seeing anything but a black screen, so maybe I'm not streaming on Facebook. I'm not even sure at this moment. Let me see. It was a few months ago. Yeah, no, I'm on there. I'm on there at Facebook, and on Facebook, it's not telling me at the moment how many are watching. There's usually a little eyeball, but I can tell you. I mean, I can look at all the other ones combined, with the exception of Twitch. And I can tell you without a doubt that, someone one day was like, I just went from YouTube. There's 25 people on Rumble. There's 1 on YouTube. And that's kind of how the situation always goes. Right now, I'm showing 7 viewers total without Rumble. Okay. 12 viewers total without Rumble. So, and that's almost all Facebook. I can guarantee that's 18,000 followers, but only 12. And I don't want to say every single person that got an alert watched, but we're talking 18,000, right? Like by accident, 100 would just click on even for a moment, right? It'd be like, what's this coconut? What's this doot-de-doot talking about today? So, Wild Stalin, I see you there, sir, over on YouTube. Watching. Look at you getting on YouTube. Wild Stallion gets thrown over everything. He's like me. He gets thrown over everywhere. But YouTube, that's just to the watchers on YouTube. Just know, if you don't see me for weeks, and there will be no Wednesday Night Live next week. I'm taking my son to New York next week. I'm going to spend some time in New York and New Jersey visiting family, and I am going to be heading out to West Virginia. I won't be back. I'll be gone for Wednesday. I might try and jump on, with a quick hello sometime around midweek, just to maybe show you guys the cabin that we got there, that we're dressing up there, a little hunting cabin that we're dressing up on the acreage we got in West Virginia. But that is that. But back to Epstein, I definitely want to hear from you folks, what your take on Epstein is, because on the files, not on him. We all know what the take on him is. He's a dirtbag. It's pretty cut and dry what the take on Epstein is. But as far as the files, the timing of them, I feel like it's one more weapon that they can use to try and either doctor them or work on them, or, whatever they got to, whatever manipulation they got to do, to try and tie Trump into this whole thing. I feel like will happen. Now, there's two sides of it, right? If they go and try and prosecute him over it, well, then they have to go ahead and, prosecute Prince Andrew and Clinton and everybody else. So, and I don't think anybody's getting prosecuted, by the way. The left will absolutely never prosecute any of these people as long as they are in power. So that I think the DOJ right now has no interest in prosecuting pedophiles whatsoever. So I have no doubt that all of these people would walk anyway. But is it another weapon? Like, why would you wait until, this has been how long now, right? It's 2017, 18? We waited this, now we're going to, all of a sudden, it's okay to break these out? Like, this could have been broken out years ago. But they're going to do it now. Whenever I see stuff like that, I get skeptical, right? I get skeptical because I know how this game is played, and I think everybody does, right? They bring out these things. They bring out they hold these things in their pocket, I should say, until, the time is right to go ahead and use them as a weapon of some sort. It's like we all look at it like, oh, the Epstein Black Book is incredibly damaging. But the elites don't look at it that way. Like, I don't think there's any way, I don't think there's any part of Prince Andrew that thinks if these come out, I don't care if these things come out and they show him making multiple trips every weekend to, even if they do, even if they, with photo evidence, they could catch him in the act on camera, and I don't think anything will happen to Prince Andrew. Right. But, on the other hand, right. Anybody on that list that hasn't been, that's been on the naughty list, those people, they may use it to persecute. Right. And that's where I'm going with it. Now, if Trump is really on the list, if he's on the manifest to the island, that's suspect. I'm sorry. Now, the question, though, again, becomes we don't trust anybody anymore. So you're going to look at it and be like, was he really on the manifest? Or did they just, quickly scribble that in and be like, look, and try and take him down that way. It's at the point with Donald Trump now where he could be accused of just about anything and nobody would believe it. There's only so many times you can cry wolf before anybody, before people just stop believing you altogether. And I think, that line has been crossed by every governmental agency. And I've gone into this in depth on different episodes where, look, this was what the design was to confuse the crap out of everybody. This is what Uri was telling us they were doing. This is what the CCP has set their goal on. And not recently, CCP was talking about this, 70 years ago. They got some 30 years left in their 100-year war. Right, so it's 27 years left or whatever the hell it is. But the point is, they were the entire goal in taking over our education system, in changing the way we think, in doing things that drive us insane, like calling this a democracy all the time. Right, things like that, to change the words, to change the verbiage, to change the way we see. This is what it was all about. So that when things like this happen, when anything happens, nobody believes anybody. And that's exactly where they want us. They want us in a place where nobody believes anybody. And it's just wild to me that could be the case. But it's not wild to me it's wild to me that it worked. It's wild to me that because I grew up in this era too, right? I grew up while they were trying to do this. And I know what the attitude was. The attitude when there were some people screaming from the rafters that this is what they're doing, etc. But we didn't believe it, right? To those, I'm 50, right? So I grew up, came of age in the 80s, right? And the fact of the matter is, nobody believed it. Everybody was like, no, yeah, whatever. Not in America, buddy, waving our flags and being whatever, not realizing that at the same time, younger generations, more minions were being created. More of these, university professors were being created. More Hollywood actors were being selected. More rock stars were being selected. More influencers were being put into place. And then we woke up one day in 2020. We're like, how the hell did we get here? Right? And it's crazy. But these Epstein files, like when they come out, what do you think? What do you think's going to happen? I got True Flag Action on Rumble saying we're reactive, not proactive. Yeah, well, that's for sure, right? That's for sure. Norm Sanders, how are you, sir? I see you over on Facebook. Kelly Flett Lanigan said, I'm waiting for Anderson Cooper to announce the names on CNN. Wonder if he leaves his name out. Yeah, there's going to... I mean, if they truly do get it, right? And that was a good one, Kelly, because he will, right? And in the end, they're truly... There's a lot of people on that list, and that's... And whoever they end up being, right? Like, we know the big names that have just leaked out over time because whistleblowers and things like that. But how many are guilty where, maybe they weren't, there was no whistleblower or whatever the story may be. Like, there's going to be a lot of people on the list. And I just, watching them, lay it all out, I think is necessary. But because even if the left is going to let them go, even if the left is never go, like, no one will look at royalty the same way again in the UK. Like no one's going to, I mean, look, I'm from the US, right? I don't really do the royalty thing, but in the UK, these people were respected, right? These people, they are respected, I assume. I mean, I don't know I don't have a pulse for the general feeling. I know Queen Elizabeth was beloved. I'm guessing it's a little less for the king here, but for King Charles. But in the end, you have to look at them differently if they covered up King Andrew or Prince Andrew doing this. You can't look at them the same way. You just can't. I don't care. If you were one of those people in my era who were fawning over Princess Diana, she's probably, and Diana, to her credit, was likely, would have been appalled had she known things like this. She'd never fit in with those people from day one. She was above them from day one. And that's the truth with her, right? But when you look at the other ones that are going along with this game, if Prince Andrew is what everyone says he is, then they knew about it. They knew about it for a long, long time and did nothing about it, right? And it's the same, and it's not different in the States. Like the fact of the matter is, there are people who are so ideological, that, and so, I'm on this team, you're on that team. Like, they so buy into that nonsense that they would give a pass to Bill Clinton. They would give a pass, they would make excuses for this kind of stuff. And it drives me nuts. And dare I say, if Trump really were on, I don't think he was, but if he were, there is, and we all know it, there are a faction of Trump supporters who are going to make excuses for that too. Now, just telling me he's on the list, like me taking that word from the deep state that he's on the list, I don't know. But if there were hardcore proof that he was, there would be people making excuses for him. And it's just how humanity is. It's just how humanity is. It is disgusting, actually. But there's enough of us, right? Mostly people who do watch programs like this, or do watch, maybe your guy is Russell Brand, or, some of the big guys, right? Maybe you like those guys. I don't know who it is. But, there are people out there screaming truth to power, many of whom don't have podcasts and aren't jumping on to scream from the highest mountain, so to speak, with that in that way. But in the end, look, and it looks, hey guys, can you confirm? Because I'm seeing the chats come up on the side here. I just want to make sure that what I'm seeing is correct. So, looks like it is. I'm going to try and move that chat box above me so that I don't get in the way. Norm Sanders, I see you out there, my friend. I see you out there. But with this whole, let me see if there's did I miss anything else? No, you're good. Greetings from Ontario from Kelly. More Canada. Love Canada. Canada's been, look, and frankly, the U.S. and Canada right now, like, we're kind of in this fight together, considering just the way that we're built, right? Landlocked. And the Canadians are taking it a lot harder than we are, because, the protections and whatnot, like our Constitution, we take it for granted here in the States, but like, honestly, it has done wonders, and it has held up for all the attacks. A lot of people saying, oh, the Constitution's, they're breaking it all the time. They really aren't. They really aren't. They're going through massive hurdles to get around it, but they can't, right? They can't stop speech. They can control YouTube, but they can't control me, right? They can't do if the government started taking direct action towards me, that's when we know we lost it. And when I say direct action, I mean with me not doing anything, right? Them just coming and trying to silence me that way, would be a problem, obviously. But it doesn't happen here. Free speech issues are free speech issues. They're actually, walking a thin line, even doing what they're doing with Twitter. There are violations there, but they're in control at the moment. So but those violations will come to light. And that's one of the reasons they can't have a guy like Donald Trump or a Ramaswamy or a DeSantis. They can't have somebody they literally need to have Democrats in office forever in order to keep this game of cards standing. And I don't think that's going to happen. I know that's not going to happen. The fact of the matter is, when you forget the Epstein list for a second, if you just look at all of these efforts to take out Trump, they're not making. If they had this thing fixed, if they thought that they could just fix the election, they would be there would be no reason for this. They'd be encouraging Trump to go out, do what you got to, because then in the end they would just fix it and be like, oh well, people, we let you took your best shot. More people love the dementia guy, right? But they can't do that because they know they're not going to be able to pull that off. There's no way you could put. Right now, people are so dialed in to election fraud and to things of that nature. To do it on a mass scale like that, it would be I didn't say impossible, but it's incredibly unlikely, and they know that. And that's why the idea is we have to get rid of him somehow before any of that happens. Voice of America, I see you over there on Rumble. Says, he said, yeah, I hear you. What got him kicked off YouTube? I think you mean me. That was the conversation. I was having a conversation about Matthew Lau at a World Science Fair talking about human engineering. Lord knows what the actual thing is. They don't tell you what you get thrown off YouTube for. It's just kind of here's the policy you broke. And it's like this ambiguous policy, and you're trying to go through. I used to go through the whole video and try and figure out what it was now I don't give a crap. I expect it. I'm like, whatever with YouTube. I used to be all about YouTube, and the whole time they're freaking shadow banning me. I don't even know it. You know how I figured it out? By the success I had on Facebook. Facebook, when I started uploading directly to, all of a sudden, bang, Facebook was totally they were treating me like I was some kind of cooking channel. And just throwing me up in Facebook Watch and taking the produced videos I was doing and putting them up. And I was just started rolling. We went from 1,000 to 10,000 in 2 months. And monetized the channel, the whole nine. The first month of monetization, I made I couldn't believe it. I just put 2 videos out really and got $1,000, and then bang. The entire channel slowed down. It's never been the same since. It's always, there are some gaps in there. If, depending on the content's always being super monitored though. So nothing that I do about the CCP ever gets any play. Nothing I do about, even the Soviets, you would think they're so Russia. No, anything that I do that talks about either even Convention of States, which I talk about a lot. So Convention of States, globalists, WEF, CCP, none of it. Never. Very, very rare will it get play. And some of them have gotten play because it's weird how it works. The whole channel gets subverted, and then all of a sudden the whole thing opens again. You just start getting these notifications. I don't know if it's stuff you did 2 months ago. And it's all of a sudden these people are watching that video. But back, 2 months ago when you released it, after doing 65,000, 45,000, now you're doing 1,000 max, sometimes in the hundreds. And you're like, that's the reason I kind of cut it down to just live. And I'd like to get Twitch going because with Twitch, I'm not Twitch. I keep saying Twitch, Twitter going in X, because if I could start to migrate this following there, I could start to produce those videos again because those videos take time to produce. They're not, it's hours and hours that you're putting into it, timing, music, video, clips, everything, effects, stock footage, etc. You put it all together, you put it out there only to have it shut down. And so after a while, I just got like, you know what, I'm going to do live. They don't tell a lot of people about live, but at least anyone who wants to watch can always come on Wednesday night at 5:30, give or take 10 minutes. Sometimes I'm rushing home from work and whatnot. But normally it'll be 5:30 on the dot, and we can have these conversations, right? We can have these conversations. I'm actually trying to get a co-host on here. But Wednesdays seem to be bad for just about everybody that I know, and I don't want to change the day as of yet. So it'll be just me for a little while. But soon I will have Mike Arnold on from Convention Estates. We do have one plan coming up. I'm just waiting for his go-ahead to get that done. But yeah, let me see what else we got here in the comments. So move this over. Okay. All right. So here in the comments, Kelly on Facebook says, "Oh no, that was Anderson Cooper. We got you already." Oh, Kelly again here. It was that. Her USNRG 7 says facts. Kelly Flanagan again. Charles' good friend was Jimmy Savile. Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine stayed at the cottage of one of the castles of the Queens. Yeah, no shock. I can't remember which one. Yeah, those guys are a hot. The way Jeffrey Epstein lived amongst these people was just. Now, mind you, there were hobnobbers in there that may not have even been aware of Epstein. So I don't want to throw anyone who's ever been seen in the background of a picture or gone to the same party as Epstein as guilty. But the ones that really cater to him like that, like doing stuff like that, like that's, that are like flying around with him to different places here and there. Like, you fly to, someone takes a trip on his jet. Okay. As long as they're not going to the island. They go to the island, even one trip is no good. But if they're like going to Colorado or something, and like they're going to an event together, and these guys hop on each other's private jets like it's friggin', like we carpool, right? So, Guy Romine on YouTube says Suicide Weekend coming. Yeah, we'll see how that goes, right? It's funny how you say that because all these different people have to like you hear it now all the time where people like give these disclaimers. Like, I have no intent. Like, Elon Musk did it. I think that guy Tatum, I think his name is, the big bald dude. He's like super like overly masculine. Like even like masculine people or even alphas are like, you're overdoing it a little bit. That guy. Well, all these guys are coming out and they're saying, I am not suicidal. I am not depressed. I am not. And it's crazy. But you know what? I would probably do that too. Like if this channel grew, right? Like if it grew to the point where, I had 1 million followers or, it got to some crazy number, right? And suddenly like people are being like, hey, this guy's rallying too many people around Convention Estates. This is dangerous, blah, 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 blah. Because it is dangerous to deep state, right? So, but you don't get on their radar until Convention Estates gets itself, probably around the 25 number, I would say. That would be it could be less, right? They're already starting. I know Mike Arnold had mentioned to me that they're already starting with their idiocy, but all right, over on Rumble. So True Flag Action, honestly, my experience and gut tells me the government is non-existing. Non-existing. That's interesting. We have a failed and criminal corporation at its end. Yeah, I don't disagree with where you're going with this. I'm going to finish reading it for everyone else because Rumble doesn't show on the main chat. We have a failed and criminal corporation at its end. If there's any justice at all, we need to regroup a government after we arrest. I'm guessing there's more to this that he didn't get done yet. But the point that he's making is the whole, and you probably have heard this before, is that, the United States is a corporation, right? And so I don't want to get too deep into that because some of it makes sense and some doesn't. But in the end, what I would tell people, and they tell me this, they tell me the government's a corporation when I tell them that Article 5 is the way to go. And the Constitution it's not even meaningful. The U.S. is a corporation. I'm like, the U.S. is not a corporation in that way. Now, is there a public-private partnership going on that's disgusting at an incredibly high level? Absolutely. But that's because of us, right? And this is the point that I try to make when I talk about Article 5, is that it's not about, and how you doing? Happy New Year, Mike. I see you out there. It's not about, I don't know how to phrase this now. So even if someone thinks the government's a corporation and they tell me Article 5 cannot happen because the as if there's like a CEO, quote unquote, somewhere who can, or an owner, right, that can stop it, right? Or like that's not true. Like, that's not true. Like, even if all these agreements had taken place, and there's some question as to whether they all have, but there are some documentation out there. Like, I've gone down this rabbit hole. Now, the reality of the matter is, though, it doesn't matter if the people say it doesn't matter. And this is where the subversion comes in, because the idea is they want you to believe there's nothing you can do. And there is. Because even if they did do some secret agreements and things of that nature, we're not aware of any of that, and nor do we care. And the fact of the matter is, even the Rothschilds don't have an army. So if the United States, if we were to come in, right, and hold an Article 5 convention, and I could think of all kinds of amendments I'd like to see passed. I guarantee there are some that will not get ratified, right? I understand that reality. But if we did throw some serious blows, like we inflict term limits, we go ahead and shut down the credit card, right? We do some things of that nature, right? We shut down these agencies, right? This administrative state. Close it all down. We can do that in very simple language. Like, force them to have single subject bills, right? So the entire omnibus is done. Like, those are things that we directly have the power to do, that the federal government cannot stop us from, and we don't have to elect someone who we thought was good only to watch them get eaten by the machine. Like that's what this process is what you do after you've elected multiple people who have all gotten eaten by the machine, and you come to the realization that the system is structurally broken. And when I say system, I don't mean our constitutional republic. I mean the federal government. The federal government is not the system. The federal government was created by the states, can be corrected by the states, and the states, again, roll down to us, or roll up to us. So in the end, and again, trying to pump that civics message, the purpose of this is that the states, you should not have to go to the President of the United States to get change. That is not how the system is designed to work. Nor will it work that way. If you want change, you're supposed to go to your local legislature. That's where you go. That's right, your local legislature. And I know, look, people being honest with themselves, how many of you really know what district you're in, Senate and House, and who it is that represents you? Right? And it's fine. It's not even like I'm bashing you for that. I'm just saying, have that moment, right? Like, we all need, even the constitutional loving people amongst us need to have that moment of humility where we realize there's been a lot of BS going on in the last 70 years. And there's been not only have they not taught civics, but there's been a serious effort to twist civics into something it's not. When I did the video on we are not a democracy, we are a constitutional republic, and I started it off with clips of different people of the day that called us a democracy. Trump was one of them. Now, he believes that I guarantee you, he believes that democracy is kind of sort of the same thing. The constitutional republic is a form of democracy. Like, and I don't even fault him for it. I'm just saying, somebody, like, when you're running for president, somebody needs to teach you the difference. Ramaswamy nailed it. nailed it when Tucker during the I guess they were interviews. I forget what they were, but Tucker was like all roundabout just calling it a democracy and threw that into his question. And Ramaswamy, to his credit, like is probably one of the most aware. I still think he would get eaten alive by the deep state if he got in there now anyway. Later on, maybe not. But the fact of the matter is when it comes to getting it right, like he gets it right. And he stopped before he even answered the question, was like, well, it's a constitutional republic, but we'll pretend it's a democracy for the sake of your question. And I got a thunderous applause, right? Because this stuff matters. Words matter. Words matter. And we allowed this to go on for too long. It doesn't mean that it's lost. Just because this is a dark time in the great American experiment doesn't mean that it's lost. Like there was a lot of prosperity with the rise of the Titans until there wasn't, right? And as the railroad system got built, and as you know, as Carnegie, threw everything he had into developing an inexpensive method of making steel. Now skyscrapers are getting built. The iron workers are born. There's all kinds of things going on until it wasn't, right? Again, it became a dark time, but it was corrected, right? It was and this is no different. And when this one is done, again, the Marxists will always be after the kids, always. They'll never convince rational adults, but they'll always go after the kids. But like once the nation goes through something like this, like they've already lost the kids. Like I've said this before, people are like, but look at the schools and look at yeah, but now parents, like you look at what's happening to Disney. Like Disney is a phenomenal barometer for what's going on, where the real heartbeat of this country is. Because if this country was split down the middle, Disney would not be getting punished the way it's getting punished. And when I say they're getting punished, they are getting punished. They're on their third year straight of decline. There is absolutely no prayer for that company anymore. They're gone. They're gone. We're going to sit here and watch Disney wither away. There's a proxy war going on. This guy wants to do a hostile takeover. Maybe his plan is buy them cheap as they're losing all the parents and then try to bring it back. I think he's miscalculating, even though he's more brilliant at this stuff than I am for sure. But I don't think parents are coming back. I think there needs to be a whole new thing for Disney. All right, let me take a pause here and just look at some of these comments. So Kelly says, I was restricted on Facebook for 1.5 years. Finally was lifted about 4 months ago. Welcome back, Kelly. I encourage, again, I'm trying to get into X myself. I wish X had a platform similar to the usability of Facebook. I think Facebook, from a user interface standpoint, is the best of the bunch, to be honest. I'm not a huge fan of Twitter. It's kind of clunky. Once you know it, but like, it's not intuitive. Getting on it doesn't, it took me a while to figure out how to even see where the comments were. Like, I didn't know you just tap on the post and the comments pop up. Like stuff like that's not intuitive, but it's free. It's free speech. It's not free. I pay for it. I'm paying them like $15 a month right now. Not that it gives me any real benefit, but I like the idea. It sounds twisted, but I like the idea. I've said this before, of paying for social media. I would prefer to make that the product rather than me the product. And I think it's fair for these social media companies to make you the product when they're not charging you anything to be on the platform. Like, now you're the product. Like, now we're going to collect the data on you. Now we're going to do, whatever we got to do because we need to make money. And that's understandable. But Mern's all over the place. She's on YouTube now too. George, want to meet up when you come back east? Yeah, I don't know if I'll have time. I would love to, though. I would love to get with you and Sheila, who's another district captain out there. Mern's a district captain for Convention of States. I would love to do it. The thing about it is that when I come in, like, I gotta take my son to the city. That's the reason he wants to go. Because when my daughter was young, I took her to Manhattan. We did all this fun stuff, and he didn't get to go because he was too young, and he's never forgotten it. So I got to check this off the bucket list. So we're going to be hitting Manhattan. I'm going to take him to a Broadway play. Probably going to see Wicked. I've seen it twice already, but he hasn't seen it, and I think it's a good experience for him. And then, do the different city things, and then bang, I got to go straight to West Virginia. So, and then we're spending a couple nights out there, and then coming back, and then it's like poof, I gotta leave. So these trips that I've been taking recently, they're very purposed, and they haven't given me the ability to like just break off. Believe me, I got friends that are lifelong friends that I can't just stop by and see because I'm so pressed for time when I go down there. But I appreciate it, and we'll get it together sooner or later. Sooner or later, I'll make it a point to get out, and when I go down there, kind of add an extra day on and just and figure it out. So because I stay in the it's like around the Holmdel, Old Bridge sort of area, Perth Amboy, in that area. So, and then also Fort Lee when I stay with my mom. So we, because that's closer to the city. But yeah, I would love to do it, but I don't know that I could do it this particular time. But folks, I want to get into real quick the fact that, because we're 45 minutes in here, and I want to get into the fact that it's COS season. It's the season of convention estates. So if you're asking me what that means, what I'm telling you is grassroots for convention estates, and there are some 5 million of us, around, probably more if you just count people who support and don't necessarily have a channel or are active in that way. But it's every January, right? The state legislatures come back, and I'm going to tell everyone who's on right now, go to Convention Estates Project, okay, their channel, right, and click on the bell and click on get all notifications. Always do that when it's something you want, and because if you don't, you leave it to these social media networks to decide for you when you want to see something or not, or what's good for you or not. No, if someone's bombarding you with like I love Russell Brand, but I had to let it go because the notifications were just out of control. But this ain't that way. They'll put up a video maybe twice a week, 3 times, if something else is happening. But they also put up live broadcasts of the debates in different states as convention estates petitions make their way through the process. And it's an excellent lesson in civics to do that. And they just had a video that they had done with some of the regional directors. Mike, thank you for shooting that over to make me aware of that. I also did get the live alerts for that, which was great, both on Rumble and on YouTube. But they kind of went into some of the states that they're looking for and that they think, have a great shot this year. And there are quite a few. All right. So there are quite a few. Now, Ohio, I'm not sure the timing of their legislative session because they just had an event in Ohio where they were it wasn't even a committee. I think they were proposing it to go to committee, but there were people speaking on it. And we've got New Hampshire that's looking, not New Hampshire. Yeah, no, North Carolina, I'm sorry. That's looking great. They actually have, if I understand this right, and Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, if you're still out there, that it sounded like New Hampshire has a 2-year session, which is interesting. This stuff like this, little nuance like this, are the differences between the states. And this second portion of their session will start in April, but they've already passed the House, so they don't have to do that again. They just have to pass the Senate, and we're in. And if you're not aware, there's no governor signing necessary, none of that. The legislature, both houses pass it. It goes to a committee, comes out of committee, in the House and the Senate, each one it goes to committee, and then boom. So my phone is going nuts right now. So with North Carolina, we're looking really, really good. South Carolina, for those who have been following, passed 2 years ago. After years of not passing, they finally read their way into support and got on the wagon. So South Carolina already one of the 19, but we could add North Carolina this year. Iowa, so the regional director that covers Iowa was saying she feels there's a good chance Iowa could pass early. And I think that's big because really we want to get right out of the gate with a few wins. Because once you start stacking the wins, it starts to become contagious. It's the same way, where South Carolina went, and then bang, West Virginia goes, and then we start getting more. Nebraska went that year, and there was one more. It's escaping me right now, but that's how it goes, right? And you get fired up when you start seeing them go, and it makes you want to do it in your state as well. I actually went, even here in the People's Republic of California, I actually went ahead and signed up to start, to start writing letters, and we did at that time a letter writing campaign locally, and then I kind of took it to another level, and then started reaching out like every week for like 3 weeks. Now, mind you, in a place like California, right, it's a little bit more difficult, right? But there are states out there that are right on the verge. Like there are more than enough, and once you start to get to 25, 26, 27, the argument that the argument against the convention starts to become incredibly shallow. It's shallow already, but if you're one who believed in it and you think, oh my God, they're gonna rewrite the Constitution and all of that nonsense, like if you're that person, like at some point you got to realize like 27 states are not trying to completely rewrite the Constitution. And really, when you look at the topics for this particular event, it's only states that are it's only states. I'm sorry. The only changes that can be made are changes that restrict power. There's no changes that can be made to increase power. The resolutions, I have most of them, at least as up to date as I can get. They're constantly changing their titles, but the subject matter is the same. You could go to my website at thepatriotthinktank.com and click through to Convention of States, and then you'll see there's a list of you'll see Uncle Sam there with different motions and whatnot for those states, and the list of states underneath, like states that passed one house, states that haven't passed at all, states that passed both, and are on board. And you can click on those, and in most of them, you'll see a link where it'll take you to the actual resolution. And I would encourage you to go in and click on a few of them for different states. What you're going to find is that they're the same. The verbiage is identical for all intents and purposes. And the reason for that is that's all the states are authorizing their agents or commissioners to go and discuss. And so there is since the topics are term limits, fiscal restraints, and amendments on addressing government overreach, there's nothing in there that you can't squeeze in something that gives more power. You just can't. Right? And so, and people are worried about Second Amendment and all this. Like, if anyone was going to do anything, again, it has to be restrictive. It has to push the government away. Right? And there's no way that you could mess with the Bill of Rights and do that. There's just no way you could do it. Unless you were going to put in a sentence that says, just to be clear, militia means everyone, right? And like kill some of the arguments that judicially they've been trying to make. Because really that's what this is about. It's not about undoing what the Marxists are. It's about undoing what the SCOTUS has done, right? What the Supreme Court has done over the course of the last century, with a flurry of horrifically bad interpretations that have given them the ability to create all these regulatory agencies, to get involved in education, to open up agencies like OSHA and things that they just have the federal government has nowhere in the Constitution is it given them the power to deal with workplace safety or education. The 10th Amendment is incredibly clear, but it wasn't clear to the Supreme Court over the course of years, and that's how we got to where we are today. And there's only one way to address that. People don't see it that way. They don't look at it like it's the courts. They look at it like it's Obama, like it's Biden, but it's not. It's not. And that's why you can have the Mitt Romneys and the Liz Cheneys. It's not. This whole illusion of red and blue, it's just nonsense. Where the damage, where the overpower and overreach of the government has come forth, how it was ever authorized is by horrible interpretations of the Constitution. The SCOTUS has been doing it for a long time. Not this group of doo-doo-doos, but all of them. All of them. And the fact of the matter is we have lived under the idea, well, Supreme Court decided, that's it. No, that's not it. We decide. Now, again, whether we use that power or not is a whole separate issue. The states gave away authority that was designed for them for a specific purpose with the 17th Amendment, where they gave up their power to appoint federal senators. Maybe some of you think federal senators have always been elected by the people. No, that was a power grab by the government. And you may think, well, why? Why is that a power grab? Isn't it better that we elect them? No, it's not. It's better that we elect the local people who then appoint them. And if they go in and start stinking up the House and the Senate the way that frickin' Romney and Cheney and them did, then we go to our local representatives and we have them yanked. That's how the government was designed to work, but they changed that. That is something that needs to be, the 17th Amendment needs to be thrown away. If we accomplish that in this convention, it will be epic. But I'd like to see the 16th go too. I mean, there's all kinds of things I'd like to see. But the question's going to be, how much power do the states want to take back, and how much do they want to leave with the federal government? That's what how much liberty do you really want? That's what the question is going to be. It's going to be, is this too much liberty? Like, do you want more liberty? Like how much liberty do you want? That's the only question. It's not whether or not you have the power. You do. And you can influence what gets ratified and what doesn't simply by freaking putting the pressure on your local representatives. You can influence what delegates or commissioners get chosen to go represent your states simply by pressuring your legislatures. These are people who do not, we don't need to gather and organize in these groups of millions of people and fill these stadiums and that's not how it's designed to be. Representatives across this country, on average are probably have a district somewhere in the tens of thousands, maybe 10,000, 20,000. There are extreme cases like in the heavy populated cities, but nonetheless, we all want the same thing. If there are 10,000 people, if there are 1,000 people in most states in this union who get activated and start petitioning and start writing letters and start calling and emailing and just making their local representatives' life all about convention of states, whether they like it or not, they're going to sway. And if they don't, you remove them. They're easier to remove than are people on the federal side. And this is where the power comes from. But we're all taught to believe presidents are going to change our destiny. We're all taught to believe, it doesn't matter who your president is, right? The left went bonkers over freaking, Obama was going to, stop the oceans from rising and blah, 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 blah. And on the right, everybody's, Trump is our savior, the MAGA king and whatever. Like, these guys aren't powerful enough to do the things that are going to change the country. Like, no president could step into office and be able to influence the things that we need influenced. I mean, look, you name it, and you can get it done through convention. And the beauty of this, the true beauty, is not about the term limits or the fiscal restraints or the government overreach. The beauty is the process. Because even if this process goes through and they don't get anything done, they don't get anything ratified. No one could agree on anything and nothing got ratified. The fact that we had the process it validates its existence. And forevermore, and something will get ratified. I guarantee you term limits at minimum will get ratified. Balanced budget amendments likely as well. Same thing with the single subject, because most states already do those things. Because they're not able to print money. So they have to live normal. Right? But regardless, now the relationship between the federal government and the people will be changed forever. Forever. 250 years from now, they'll be talking about this. They'll be in textbooks. They'll be showing COS rallies. They'll be showing everybody, Mark Meckler will be an American hero, right? And Santorum and all the guys that are in now, the big names will go huge. Even the grassroots folks, there'll be pictures of rallies and people in those photos, and they'll be teaching people why the United States Constitution is so amazing and why it has been able to adapt regardless of the threat that has been posed to it, right? And so far, the threats have always been military. Well, now we got a new chapter. Now they get to watch us undo Marxism. Because without us, there is no global Marxism. As long as we exist, we give an avenue that people want to run to. We give an avenue for those people, many of whom fall through the cracks of the Great Society and are just sick of it and just want, I'll live with a little risk. I want my safety. I'll live with a lack of safety. I want my liberty. That's what America is. And I'm totally okay with people going elsewhere and loving it. That's fine. But just don't demand that it happen here, right? Because our Constitution is always going to make that. Liberty is always going to be a priority. Always. No one else understands it, and that's fine. We're not asking for everyone's understanding. But I could tell you this, the intellectuals out there talking about America's decline and the end of America and this and that, blah, 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 all empires fall, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, news of our demise has been greatly exaggerated. That I could tell you for 100% fact. And it's only a matter of time. Everyone's got a different breaking point. But once y'all reach a breaking point, once they do something that affects you personally, you'll be signing that petition, you'll be clicking that volunteer button, and you'll be damn well wanting to know who the hell your representative is so you can start lighting some fires under people's butts and get things moving. Because I can tell you right now, if you ignore the federal government altogether and just focus on the legislatures, that's all the power you need. That's all the power you need. When the states are truly united on topic, the federal government is weak. It's weak. From a legislative standpoint, from an administrative standpoint, yes, they have the military, but how long do you think the military is going to take action against the states? So really, they don't even have the military, not when they're dealing with us. And that's real talk. The power's ours. We got to flex. Let me see. I saw a big comment pop up here. It says, keep saying for us here in Canada, we need to take our power back as the citizens of Canada, stand up and make our voices heard. I keep saying, whoa, just got hit with one. Hey, Bob, how you doing? I'll get to your comment in a moment over on Facebook. So I keep saying draft an email stating everything you have to say politely, right, and send to every politician several times a week. Send an RCMP and other police officers. Be persistent. We're the only ones that can save ourselves. No one else can. Everyone has become complacent, afraid to say anything, and that's absolutely correct. And the afraid to say anything, as I would normally say, well, that's probably more in Canada than the U.S. But you know what? That's what's got everybody mentally enslaved here as well. And this is a part of when I say words matter. This is why when they control words, okay, they don't. The First Amendment can exist, and someone could pop off, and you can't arrest them. But at the same, they can never have a hate speech law here, right? That's just not even possible. Most other countries they can, but here they cannot. It's the entire purpose, because the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, is an inalienable right granted to us by God, not the government. One of the most significant pieces of text in any of our founding documents was that our rights are endowed by our Creator, because only the Creator can take them away. And it's one of the big differences that drives me nuts when people call the United States a democracy. It drives me insane. Because not only are we not a democracy, we are not similar to a democracy. We are not kind of sort of a democracy. In fact, our system was created, this constitutional republic was created specifically to avoid becoming a democracy. Yet most, if not virtually all, common citizens consider this a democracy. Harvard-educated professors spewing blah, 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 calling this a democracy, acting like it's almost the same thing. School teachers, principals, professors in universities, wherever you go, politicians, people who are in office don't even know what kind of government we have. But I don't want to complain about that because they grew up in the same subversion that we did. So there are good people out there. Like, I don't think Donald Trump doesn't love America because he can't get his head wrapped around the fact that it's a constitutional republic. Most Americans can't. Nor do they understand the difference and why it matters and why the words matter, right? The words always matter. And this is the entire way that they do this. This is how they created the politically correct society, because they can't have the government silence you, but they can have you silence yourself. They can screw with your coconut enough that you will go ahead and start ridiculing and persecuting and joining lynch mobs on other people for speech. Then all they have to do is step in and start defining what exactly hate speech is. And of course, it then becomes anything that they disagree with. And that's just truth. And Bobby says it's all about bringing... Let me get my mic here because I'm looking way over to the other side and my eyes ain't what they used to be. All right, so he says it's all about bringing the decisions back to the states where it belongs. Yep, closest to the people. We don't need Joe telling us what kind of stove we can use. Yeah, and I don't need Trump telling me that either, right? It's not even all about Joe. I don't need any of these people telling me anything domestically. I just don't. I don't need them telling me a damn thing. My relationship with Jesus is my relationship with Jesus. I'm perfectly free to try and tell you should follow as well. Just like you're perfectly free to throw me the bird and keep walking. People, individual liberty, right? This is not a collective. It's individual liberty that makes this true. And this is what people, this is the civics part that people just lost. We just lost it. And we didn't lose it. It was taken from us, but we didn't notice it. And we allowed social studies to become the replacement for civics. And it's not. It's just not. It's not even, it's just like social studies is to civics what a democracy is to a constitutional republic. And even just in the name of it, like just in the idea that they call it social studies, like that just reeks of Marxism right off the chute. But the fact is, it's not an accident that we don't understand civics. And I don't say everybody. It's just if you do understand it, you learned it yourself. You learned it yourself. Maybe, there was one professor in the 90s when I was in college that actually was down the line and good. It was a class called The History of American Government, and he did a phenomenal job. But that was literally the only professor that I had. And that was in the 90s. I'm sure by 2000 they got him out of there. The fact of the matter is they took the universities, they took the, later on they took the high schools. In the 2000s, they got it all the way down to preschool. And we see people like Project Veritas like expose them. And you listen to them talk. And you listen to them say these things. It's not like we're past the point of it being some kind of conspiracy theory. They know very well what they're doing. And it's not every teacher in every school, but I could say this, if a teacher is in those schools and no one is stopping this madness. Why? Because they're afraid to speak. It goes right back to what we were talking about with them being afraid to say anything, right? And Kelly brought that up. Well, you got to say something. You got to say something. It's not a coincidence they don't let, when I was a kid, high schools had parent-teacher day. You came to the school, you walked the classrooms, you saw the different teachers, you saw the path that your child went through every day to his classes. They don't do that anymore. They got all kinds of reasons they explain to the administrators as why they don't do it anymore. But we all know why they don't do it anymore. They know there are classrooms in that school that teachers will go ape crap. Parents will go ape crap if they go in and see, because they're donned with, communist posters, LGBT this, that, whatever, like just all kinds of nonsense that has nothing to do with school. And clearly has to do with indoctrination. So that they decided, let's not let them in anymore. Even middle school. They don't even do it. Grammar school is where it ends. They don't want you walking into a middle school library and picking up the porn that they're leaving on the tables for these kids to read. They don't want you doing that. No, because you'd go nuts. And now that everybody knows it's there, that's it. This fight is just about over. We should never get complacent, but now the kids are going in with warnings. Now you're sending your kids to school and parents are telling them, you tell me everything. You tell me, and if there's a teacher who tells you that you don't have to tell me something, you tell me that too. You tell me who that teacher is. Because frankly, that teacher should not be allowed around children, period. Any adult, forget teachers, any adult who is doing something with an adolescent that they need to hide from their parents should not be around children, period. That's just real talk. But the beauty is we don't need to tolerate all this. And we don't need to go using Second Amendment rights. Trust me, there is nothing the federal government would love more than if all the doot-de-doos out there who are like, it's time for revolution, I got my bullet stocked, blah, blah. There's nothing the federal government would love more than for those folks to act out. Nothing. If we didn't learn that from January 6th, right, now they got you acting out, now you are an insurrectionist. Now they will take you, they will lock you away in a gulag, and you will never see the light of day again. I mean, they did this to people who were trespassing after being invited in. Were charged with trespassing. Just wrap your head around that for a moment, because it's ridiculous. I want to take a look over on Rumble real quick. Just see, and welcome to everybody new on Rumble again. 30 people watching on Rumble right now, some 29 people. It keeps moving, but far more than the other, than Facebook in particular, where there's 18,000 followers. But I appreciate every one of you for sure. So True Flag Action says arrest and replace. I had to find a way to get the Rumble stream to come up, at least the comments, that I could just make it a part of my background. But I just, Rumble doesn't integrate with anything. That's the only thing. Let me see. Says we can clearly see your grievances are ignored by default. Make no mistakes, Voice of America. Make no mistake. Civil war here would be the end. Yeah, it would be. Would be end of the United States. Once we be invaded, even more than that now. Yeah. So in other words, we'll be weak after that, and then vulnerable to invasion. Very possible as well. And it's not even that. Even if there's a revolution that wins, it's not going to be. Look, there's really only one effective revolution in the history of the world. I mean, I'm going back and up there. Maybe there's one that I'm missing. I don't know. Maybe there's a historian here who could drop that, for me. But right now, the only one I could think that had any success, and that's still to be determined, is the American Revolution. I would think 250 years, almost 250 years, that is success. So I would say, okay, there's success here. But whether or not that lasts, let's see, right? But at least this republic, if it falls, it will fall because we let it fall. Not because the government took it over, not because of globalists. And if we try to do this revolution thing, it will not work. Okay? It will what it will work to do is create chaos. Like it may stop globalists, but we're all going to be living like savages in a war zone. We're going to become like the frickin' Balkans. Like the Constitution's going to be completely ignored because there's going to be constant emergency measures. It's just going to be a hot freaking mess. Whereas this process, this Article 5 process, is clean. It's clean. It's administrative. It's voicing legally and peacefully. And ending it in a way where if they want to subvert the amendments that get ratified, now they're forced to openly say, look, we're out of options. We're going to go to war. But now they got to convince a military who swore an oath to the Constitution. Let's remember, our military does not swear oaths to leaders. Their oath is to the Constitution of the United States, to enemies, enemies foreign and domestic. Nowhere in there does it say the president cannot become a domestic enemy. I mean, that's up to the military to decide, but if the president's given orders for them to attack the citizens of the United States, that's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I understand that they got strict protocols and this and that. Trust me, one man's going to walk off the line, another one's going to walk off the line, and it's going to just it's going to crumble. But it won't get there. They'll honor the amendments. And that's the thing. They always do. They may try to go to a court to get some bizarre interpretation again, but in the end, if the court complies with that, the court will then be acting in a way where they know we can come in and just shut it down anyway. And again, this is where the real power is. It's not like everyone gets a slap. Everyone. Some will get a full right hook. But I can tell you, anybody who tries to undo anything that's done, it is not easy to get constitutional amendment, folks. You got to agree on the topics. And on these topics, people agree. On these topics, there is uniformity. I don't have the graphic with me because it's on my web software, and I don't know where the file itself is, but I could tell you the graphic I show all the time on the broadcast is the poll that was taken with support for the amendment topics. And there were 52% of Democrats. I want to say it was 88% of Republicans and 68% of independents. But what I kept pointing out to people was, with Democrat voters now, not the politicians, right? These are not, and this is what I say about the Marxists all the time. There aren't that many of them. Most Democrats right now are disillusioned. They don't want to, they can't go to Trump, but they don't like what's going on in their own party either. And the fact of the matter is 24% didn't know. 24% didn't know if they supported the amendment topics. Why? And the calling of a convention. And the reason is because they don't know. So that's 74% that is not opposed, of Democrat voters that is not opposed. 24% of that group, they don't know. But that's just some education away. That's just them being honest, being like, look, I don't really know. But they ain't opposed to it either. There's only about 26% that were actually opposed. And that's the 30% that we all know follow the conformity experiments, whether it's Solomon Asch or Dr. Matthias Desmet, where, the mass formation, it always comes down to about 30% that are coconuts. Somewhere in that range. And in this would be no different. And so the question is, how do we do this? What's the next step? Where do you go from here? The next step is, right, I don't even care if you go to my website to do this. You can go to my website. The link is right on the front page to take you to the exact page of the Convention of States website, or just go to the conventionofstates.com. You can get it that way as well. But sign the dang petition. This is not a petition for some random subject. This is a petition, number one, that allows you to be counted, right? That gets your name on the grid. Number two, you need to click volunteer. Get in touch with people in your local area. Get yourself educated up. They're going to give you tools to get yourself educated up, and they're local to you. Why? Because local is what it's about. You don't need some doo-doo like me in California telling you over in Missouri or Michigan or Kansas or wherever. You need somebody who lives right up the street, who lives 20 minutes away, 15 minutes away. Introduce you to other like-minded people who are taking action and are trying to peacefully make these changes happen. And it doesn't, just volunteering, it doesn't mean you're in weekly meetings or now you're in this and that. Like, you do what you can do. You do what you can do. Maybe you have a skill set that would help, right? Maybe you do. Maybe you have incredible leadership skills and you can, run a district or whatever. I don't know. Maybe you're a great video editor and you can help with some of the promotional material. Become a social justice. Become a social media warrior and get out there and promote online, right? And just introduce the concept. Talk to your friends. Just think about it like this. 10 people go and tell 10 friends. You have 10 friends sign that petition with you, and now there are 100 people. Just like that, boom. And I'll guarantee you, once you're educated up, right? Once you get yourself where you understand what the Marxists are saying against it, you understand the George Soros argument with Common Cause and the League of Women Voters and John Birch Society pretending that they didn't just spend their whole first portion of their existence trying to hold a convention. Let all these people understand what their arguments are and how ridiculous they are, and what source information from the founders you can use to destroy them. So that when you go and you approach a local representative, or you write your letter to a local representative, you're prepared. Right? And one thing I love about the way they've conducted this movement in general has been conducted is that it's all been civil. It's all been, they're not going and saying, you need to, we're not the animale like these people in Starbucks and running around Starbucks and all that. We go, we talk to these people, we talk to them in an educated manner, in a civil manner, and they're responsive. They've been responsive. Most of the states that have turned after years of believing in the BS turned because it was a constituent or constituents that provided them and took them on the right path to read the right materials, source materials, to demonstrate the case of what Article 5 is, why it's there, and why it was agreed to non-com, right, with no debate at the convention. Because it was obvious to everyone. And once the legislatures understand, once these people in office, your local representative understand, suddenly they become someone who was not for it to someone who is championing it. Because once you understand the power and the permanence of that power that the people hold, it's exciting. It's exciting to know that we have this power. No other republic or democracy has ever had such a power, where you could locally, without a governor, governors have no say. This is strictly district legislature. And nowhere in the world has this ever happened in all of human history. And right now, we're on and we've never used it because we've never needed it at this level, but we're past that now. We know that we need this, but we need to do it. So if anyone, when you sign the petition, I want you to do me the courtesy, do me the favor of messaging me on Facebook. That's the easiest one that I get. Well, you could tag me on Twitter maybe, but one or the other, right? But hit me up and let me know that you took the time to go sign the petition and that you're waiting for that call from a district captain in your area to give you access to COS University and all the other cool videos and stuff like that that's out there to help you learn not just about Article 5, but about our Constitution and about the path of this nation and understand how to save it. Because these are the things in life that matter. Let me see what... So... Oh, that's interesting. So I I didn't even know. My bad, folks. There was a... Well, no, it doesn't matter because I did see some YouTube comments come in. There was a thing saying it was just Facebook, but there were... Nope, I got the YouTube ones too. Guy Roma and Mern. All right, good. I'm going to give another look to Rumble. Let's see what we got in Rumble. And so True Flag over on Rumble says they smile and nod, suggest a petition, polite, and that's it. Yeah. Silly voting in better people is insanity in practice. So silly voting in better people is insanity in practice. It ain't going to help us. And that's true. You cannot elect your way out of tyranny because it's the tyrants who are in control, right? And this is something that people need to understand. It's not that elections don't matter. It's that, the system, the machine is broken. And if you keep hiring the same repairmen who break it each time they come, it'll never get fixed. Not when you're the one with the expertise who knows how to fix it yourself. And in the end, our government is structurally broken. It's damaged. It's damaged. It's become this way for a variety of reasons, but none greater than bad Supreme Court interpretations of our blessed Constitution. There's no... Most of the blame here sits in the courts. Evil men will always exist. An Article 5 convention will not rid the world of evil men and women. They will exist. There are safeguards that can be put in place, but they will always exist. However, the courts making these interpretations leave us with no choice. They leave us with no recourse. They leave us with no other way to go. We absolutely have to call a convention. Why? Because they gave us no choice. There's only one way to undo a Supreme Court decision. And I've shown you guys, I'm still working on getting all of my imagery, uploaded into this, but I've shown you many times that a super large 3,000-page behemoth Constitution of the United States compared to the pocket version. Littered within that book are all of these decisions. And when the Supreme Court goes to make its ruling, they don't pull out the pocket version. They pull out that behemoth. They're not looking for the Constitution. They're looking for precedent. And when they're caught in that mode, and I understand there's some relevance to precedent, but the fact of the matter is, the vaccine mandates, if the federal legislature would have given OSHA the authority explicitly to conduct mandates, Amy Barrett and Kavanaugh would have been okay with it, according to their opinions. Their opinions were that they gave them no authority to do such thing. Gorsuch, on the other hand, and I believe Alito, were like, I don't care if they did give him authority. That's a breach of authority. Like, the Congress doesn't have the authority to give that authority to another agency. That's the right answer. But that's not the answer our beloved justices were given, even the Trump-appointed ones. Like, we got to be clear. When we do these things, we need to be clear. We need to take into account every which way someone who wants to subvert our individual liberty will try and twist something in order to preserve it. And make sure the language accommodates that. Danny, I see you over there from Quebec. I got you. All right. So, folks, let me know in the comments too what you think of this new chat box on the side as opposed to me highlighting individual chats. It's something I had to sacrifice for moving out of the old software, but I found it to be better because once I get the hang of this thing and I got it all down and everything, I'm not doing a lot of graphics and silly stuff today, but it gives me the ability to do a lot more. So having the chat and the chat box up like that, I kind of like it because it kind of brings everybody from the different, like I'm looking at what's on the screen now, and there's 2 YouTube comments, a few Facebook comments. So it kind of brings you guys into the same conversation. It'll probably make it look weird on the individual chats when it's done because, of course, you'll be commenting to someone who's not in that chat. But I think for the sake of the broadcast, it's a good thing. But nice to see we got more Canadians on. We definitely internationally. I went and looked at the numbers the other day. Of the 18,000 Facebook followers, there are a good 7,000 that are international of some sort. Covers the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Kazakhstan was in there. There was obviously Canada, right? So a lot. And what it tells me, folks, like why would international folks get down with something like Article 5? Well, some of them are on, truth be told, because I have done a lot of content on the WEF, and we all know that affects everybody. That's not a United States problem. That's a world problem, right? But at the same time, I also get a lot of messages from people, usually when I make comments like this, where they're telling me, like, we understand the importance. Like they could, even some of them were overly critical of the United States, but they were like, we still understand the importance of you guys taking it back, because if you lose it, we all lose. And that's weight that sits on every American's shoulders, whether they like it or not. If we let this thing fall, the gates are open. These people, that's it. They've won. It's over. Now, that'll never happen because we'll never let it happen. But I just wanted to throw that out there. I appreciate all these international viewers who do see the world picture and do understand the significance of this. And while I rah-rah the United States a lot because I love this nation more than anything other than God and my family, right? That's why you got God, family, country, right? But at the same time, right, despite my intense love for this nation, I understand that what we're doing right now is global. And it should not be, that should not be lost on anyone. To leave it off on a note, I won't be on next week, by the way, folks. So just a reminder of that. I said it in the beginning. I will not be on next week. I'll try and do a quick camera shoot, if maybe we got our little hunting cabin dressed up, but otherwise the show won't be on next week. So it will be a break. Don't think that I got, especially the YouTube folks, don't think that I got canceled. It's just, we're just not coming on next week, or I'm just not coming on next week. All right, folks, until next time, I'll leave you on this note. Save America, save the world. Sign the petition.